Hello everyone and welcome back to Deathtrap Dungeon. When we last left off, we just entered the dungeon, and right around the entrance, just inside the dungeon, there is a stone table with boxes, one of which has our name painted on it, so it's probably prepared for the contestants by the organizers, by Sukumbit or his personnel. So let's see what it has in store for us. The lid of the box lifts off easily. Inside we find 2 gold pieces and a note written on a small piece of parchment addressed to us. After placing the gold in our pocket, we read the message which says, "Well done. At least you have the sense to stop and take advantage of the token aid given to you. Now I can advise you that you will need to find and use several items if you hope to pass triumphantly through my Deathtrap Dungeon. Signed, Sukumbit." Well, after memorizing the advice of the note, we tear it into tiny pieces and continue north along the tunnel. It's not really of any help. The gold pieces are probably nice, but it didn't tell us anything we didn't know beforehand, so let's proceed. After walking down the tunnel for a few minutes, we come to a junction. A white arrow painted on one wall points west. On the floor, we can see wet footprints made by those who entered before us. It is hard to be sure, but it looks as though 3 of them followed the direction of the arrow, while 1 decided to go east. Right. So, we were the 5th to enter, so it makes sense 3 followed the direction of the arrow, and 1 was a renegade, and we are also going to be a renegade. I don't trust anything in this dungeon, and hopefully that person that went ahead of us, well, either succeeded or found its fate, and then it's kind of a warning for us. So if they died, at least we won't fall for the same trap, hopefully. It's nice to be the 5th and not the 1st in this deadly dungeon. Ahead, we can see a large obstruction on the tunnel floor, although it is too dark to make out exactly what it is. The wet footprints we have been following carry on towards the obstruction. We could turn back, but why would we do that? So far there is no indication that we are in any danger, so let's continue. We see that the obstruction is a large brown boulder-like object. We touch it with our hand and are surprised to find that it is soft and spongy. We could slice it open with our sword, but clearly the previous adventurer did not do so, so it left it intact. So I don't think it killed him or her. So let's just climb over it. Let's try and climb over it. We don't want to resort to violence unless we are forced to anyway, as always. We clamber onto the soft boulder, half expecting to be engulfed by it at any moment. Getting over it is difficult, as our limbs sink into its soft casing, but eventually we manage to struggle over it. Relieved to be back on firm ground, we head east. Alright, so it seems that we have just managed to survive and surpass the first obstacle, whatever this soft boulder was. The tunnel makes a sudden turn to the left and heads north as far as we can see, and at this point we can ascertain with absolute certainty that we entered from the south. We turned east, and presumably our path leads us north, as in any and all adventures in the series. Alright, so we are proceeding towards the north. The footprints we are following start to peter out as the tunnel becomes gradually drier. Soon we are beyond the dripping roof and the pools on the floor. We notice the air becoming hotter, and we find ourselves panting, even though we are walking quite slowly. In a small recess on the left-hand wall, we see a section of bamboo standing on its end. Lifting it down, we see it is filled with a clear liquid. Our throat is painfully dry, and we feel a little dizzy from the heat in the tunnel. Alright, we could drink the liquid or risk not drinking it, but I don't think it's the deadly poison. This would be a very weird trap or silly trap. So it might harm us, but I don't think it will kill us. So let's drink the liquid and see what it does. The water in the bamboo pipe is welcomingly refreshing. We gain 1 stamina point. Alright, we haven't lost any stamina, but you know, whatever, at least it was not harmful. It seemed to be normal water. But it also contains a magical solution which will enable us to be exposed to melting point temperatures without harm. Discarding the bamboo, we start off north again in good spirits. Alright, so we have already got our first upgrade, which is unfortunately not stated here anyway, but we can proceed with the knowledge that we can survive melting point temperatures. So that's something, I guess. I wonder how this magical solution protects our backpack and you know, and our possessions within it, for instance our food, or will it be cooked perhaps? The temperature continues to rise and we find ourselves dripping with sweat. As we struggle on, the heat intensifies until it feels like a white heat and becomes so unbearable that we begin to pass out. However, we just drank the liquid from the bamboo pipes, so let's see if it manages to protect us. Although the temperature in the tunnel is higher than we could normally tolerate, the liquid from the bamboo pipe keeps us alive. Awesome, so it seems that we have survived the first 2 obstacles and passed them. Now, mercifully, the temperature starts to drop rapidly and soon it feels almost cool again. On the left-hand side of the tunnel there is a closed door. It has a small iron plate in it which might possibly slide open. Okay, we could ignore this whole room or chamber or whatever this door hides. We could open the door or slide open the iron plate. We are not going to ignore it because we want to explore, well, we need to explore the dungeon to its maximum extent. But we are also not going to simply open the door, so hopefully we can slide the iron plate to the side, take a peek inside and decide how to proceed. The small plate slides open easily and we find ourselves peering into a room with a deep pit in the floor behind the door. On the opposite wall there are 2 iron hooks, on one of which hangs a coil of rope. Alright, I guess the trap was the pit itself, question mark. So I guess if we just opened the door and stepped in, we could have fallen into the pit, but we didn't fall for this extremely primitive trap. And by the way, so far the traps have been quite passive, so that soft boulder, whatever it was, maybe it's a sack full of acid or poison, whatever, and the heat. So it's not like creatures or, you know, spikes or, I don't know, magical arrows flying at us. And now we have a pit, so that's like the most primitive trap of them all. Let's open the door, jump over the pit and take the rope. We could use a rope, I guess, in our adventures in the future. The door swings open into the room and we step back and jump over the pit. We put the rope in our backpack and jump back over the pit to leave the room and head north. Wow, that's great. We actually managed to acquire a piece of rope and a coil of rope rather. And the great part about this was that we didn't even need to use our skill, you know, a skill check or use up any of our luck rolls. So we just went in and got it. So far so awesome. Ahead we see that the tunnel turns sharply to the left, so we are proceeding westwards now. We turn the corner and almost bump straight into 2 fierce-looking orcs, armed with morning stars and wearing leather armor. We are totally unprepared, and as we draw our sword, one of them swings its morning star at us. Okay, a few questions. First of all, why are we unprepared? We should be walking with our sword drawn constantly and only put it back in its scabbard when, you know, when we have to use both our hands or something. And secondly, this is not a morning star, this is a flail. A morning star is a rigid object, it doesn't contain a chain, so I guess the illustrator messed up, or maybe there's been some kind of misunderstanding. Alright, let's roll 1 die, let's see what our roll is. We rolled a 6. Let's see what that means. The orc's morning star crashes into our shield and bounces off harmlessly. The tunnel is too narrow for both of them to attack us at once, so we are able to fight them one at a time. Awesome. Alright, the first orc doesn't seem to be very dangerous, to put it mildly. It has a skill level of 5 and also stamina of 5, so we should, yeah, especially with hits like this, we should be able to dispose of it very rapidly. And we are. Let's see if the second orc is any better. And no, it's a bit more skilled and a bit softer, but overall it's just as pathetic as the first one was. And we win. Inside one of the orc's pockets we find 1 gold piece and a hollow wooden tube. Alright? We put our findings in our backpack and set off west. Okay, so I guess the only thing we gained was a wooden tube and the fact that we did not get damaged. And also we disposed of 2 orcs. I guess that's an achievement in and of itself. As we walk along, droplets of water again start falling from the tunnel ceiling. We see wet footprints made by the same boots that we followed earlier, heading west. The footprints lead to a closed iron door in the right-hand wall of the tunnel, so towards the north, but do not seem to go any further. Alright, so it seems that one of our competitors is in this room. Let's enter and say hi to him or her. The door opens into a large chamber where we are shocked to see one of our rivals who has obviously met a sudden gory death. It is one of the barbarians and he is impaled on several long iron spikes which are fixed to a frame that has sprung out of the floor. A lot of rubbish and debris litters the floor, concealing a hidden tripwire which he must have stepped on and thus released the spiked frame. In the far wall is an alcove in which we can see a silver goblet standing on a small wooden table. Alright? If you recall, we were the 5th to enter, the 6th one was the final barbarian, so I guess the first one failed already. I don't know if the others are alive as of this moment, but I don't know if we'll ever find out even. But yeah, so we met the first one of our competitors and it seems like we have already bested him. And also it seems that he was kind enough to clear out a trap for us, to disarm this trap in a kind of weird way. I don't know if this chalice or goblet or whatever is of any importance, but let's see what our options are. We could walk over to search the barbarian. I don't think that's dangerous to do, so we could also leave. That's kind of silly. And we could also walk towards the alcove, but the first option is very enticing. So the barbarian should not be like... I don't think there is any further danger up until the barbarian, so let's see what he had on him. The pouch on the barbarian's belt is empty, apart from some strange-looking dried meat wrapped in a cloth. Alright? We could eat his last meal, or we could leave the meat and inspect the alcove, or leave the chamber. So it's the same thing, except we have the chance to eat the dried meat. I don't think it's a trap. I mean, it's probably useful, so let's see if it does anything apart from healing. We don't need healing, so far so okay. The meat contains herbs, which will increase our strength. We gain 3 stamina points. Awesome. What would you like to do now? So we already were at full stamina. Unfortunately, it didn't give us any other boost or anything at all, and we couldn't pack it for some reason for later consumption. So it was kind of useless, but not dangerous. Now we want to investigate everything this dungeon has to offer, so let's go to the alcove and inspect it and hopefully not trigger another trap. We walk slowly over to the alcove, carefully checking the floor for any more hidden traps. We see that the goblet contains a sparkling red liquid. Alright? We could drink or leave. Well, let's drink it. I don't. Again, once again, it would be kind of silly that beyond the trap, it's like a poison here. So let's drink it. Let's be brave. Lifting the goblet releases a spring catch, and the dart shoots out of the wooden table leg. On the one hand, this is horrible. On the other hand, this is actually great because it means that the goblet and probably the liquid in it is hopefully something valuable. And this is the first luck roll we have. We are definitely going to succeed in this one because our luck is at max, so we are guaranteed to succeed. And so we do. Our reflexes are sharp, and we quickly jump aside. The dart whistles past, only just missing us, and thuds into the opposite wall. We see the goblet lying on the floor, and the red liquid running away in rivulets over the grey stone. At least the goblet may be of use, so we put it in our backpack. Okay, so we got clumsy and silly, and we will never know what this liquid did. I'm kind of happy we didn't slurp it up from the floor. So probably the real prize was the liquid, but at least we got the goblet. So yeah, at least something. Alright, there is nothing else left for us here, so let's leave the chamber and continue west. This passage soon leads to a junction. We notice more footprints on the floor, possibly as many as 3 pairs, heading north from the south passage. We decide to follow them. Alright, good idea. So it seems that this is a similar dungeon to the ones we have met previously in our previous adventures. So we can never proceed to the north. Sorry, to the south. We always must proceed to the north or east or west, so we can never turn back southwards. It's kind of a pity. I would like to explore those passages as well, but what can you do? Alright, the passage opens out into a wide cavern which is darker but much drier. Ahead, we see the footprints gradually fade, then disappear. There is a large idol in the center of the cavern, standing approximately 6 meters high. It has jeweled eyes, each as big as our fist. There are 2 giant stuffed bird-like creatures standing on either side of the idol. Alright, this is creepy. I don't know what these birds are supposed to represent, but we are not only here to escape the dungeon, but we also want to take everything we can. So we probably should aim for its eyes. I mean, that sounds enticing. So let's try to climb the idol to take the jewels from it. It seems that our competitors kind of neglected this or ignored this creepy, whatever it is, this creepy item, and just proceeded onward. The idol is very smooth and will be difficult to climb. Do we have any rope? We sure do. We make the rope into a lasso, whirl it above our heads, and throw it at the idol's head, smiling happily as it falls around its neck. We then tighten the noose and start to climb, holding myself up the rope. We are soon at the top of the idol, sitting on the bridge of on its nose and holding on to the rope. We draw our sword and wonder which eyes to prize out first. Alright, well, we have 2 options, left or right eye. No indication, so let's start with the left one, I guess. As we touch the idol's emerald eye, we hear a creaking sound below us. Looking down, we are shocked to see 2 stuffed birds flying off. The 2 stuffed birds flying off. Their wings flap in jerky movements, but they are soon above us and look set to attack. Fight the flying guardians one at a time, but our skill is reduced by 2 during this combat because of our restricted position. Alright, so these are some kind of magical creatures and we are in a bit of a pickle. It seems that the fight is unavoidable and yeah, we are not in a great spot. We have a skill level of 8 at this moment against the first flying guardian, which has a skill level of 7. So here's to hoping that we don't get beaten. We are supposedly in a tiny bit of an advantage, but not much. Alright, we actually managed to dispose of the first one without as much as a scratch. Now the second one, Alright, it has the same level of skill as us, so ouch, exactly. Ouch again. Ouch again. Finally we are dealing it some damage as well, and wow, this is going to be really costly. I really hope it won't simply kill us. Alright. Wow. One final hit, and it goes down. This was extremely costly. It was in fact so costly that I'm going to eat one of our provisions right now, so that we're at least back up to 14 stamina points, which is not great, but yeah, something. We look down and see the crumpled bodies of the two flying guardians lying motionless on the floor. We start to prize out the idol's emerald eye with the tip of our sword. At last it comes free, and we are surprised by its weight when it falls into our hand. Hoping it may be of use later, we put it in our backpack. And now we could prize out the right eye, but I don't want to trigger any more traps. I'm 100% sure it's also trapped, or it's also protected by something. So let's just leave it like that. One emerald ought to suffice if we need it for anything. So just climb down the idol and let's get out of here. Back on solid ground once again, on the cavern floor, we try to shake the rope off the idol's neck. Good idea, we should need the rope, and we are lucky. The lasso loosens itself, and we are able to shake it free off the idol's neck. It falls to the floor with a loud clatter. Clatter. I don't think that's the... okay, I thought it would be like a soft thud or something. We quickly coil the rope up again and put it in our backpack. Wasting no more time in the cavern, we run forward to the tunnel in the northern wall. I don't know why we need to run, but whatever. Alright, I think I'm going to stop here. So we have just obtained an emerald eye. Hopefully it will be of use later. And we took a lot of damage, so we even after consuming one of our 3 provisions, we are still only at 14 health, so hopefully we won't die in this dungeon. But I think it's a great place and time to take a breath, take some rest. We have won 2 battles against 2 enemies each, respectively. We already picked up a few things, so we are fine. And yeah, let's catch our breath. Let's focus, let's calm down, and we are going to continue from here. I thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye bye.